I love me some Jesus. Jesus of Nazareth is so much more than the institution of Christianity. I am Reverend Amani Malaika, and today I want to talk about the way of love. I believe Jesus is an incredible example and way shower for the way of love. And this winter season is an invitation into getting on that journey, to be on the way of love, to be the way of love. I want to share with you from Mark Homer's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. He says, Jesus' weekly schedule was a prophetic act against the hurried rhythms of our world. He would regularly get up early and go off to a quiet place to be with his Father. There's a story where the disciples woke up and he was gone, left before dawn just to be alone and greet the day in the quiet. Sometimes he would go away overnight or even for weeks at a time just to get away from the crowds and gather himself to God. More than once we read stories about Jesus sleeping in and the disciples having to wake him up. Every chance he got, he would enjoy a nice long meal with friends over a bottle of wine. It created space for in-depth conversations about the highs and lows of life. He would practice Sabbath on a weekly basis, an entire day set aside for rest and worship every single week. This, for me, is one of my favorite ways of being that we can learn from Jesus of Nazareth, that many have called the way of love. And it's really simple. Really, really, really simple. You don't ever have to read the Hebrew Bible or the Christian Bible to become aware and in practice of this way of love. It is simply communion, connection, community, and respite. Communion, connection, community, and respite. This is the way of love. And this is one of the wonderful gifts of the winter season, because the winter season naturally invites us into this way, to seek rest, to slow, to separate from all the busy and the hurry, from all the stress and the horror at times of the world, and to go on a full time out, right? You don't have to be a toddler to take a time out. It was a mothering practice I used quite a bit. I would put myself on time out. And now I take a time out every week to rest and worship, to return. And this winter season is a season of respite if you let it. And all of the holidays and the time off school and the time off work, if you are so blessed, is a season that is built for connection and community. It is right here for you, gifting itself to you. And this connection is more than just connection to your beloveds, it's also connection to your divine nature. Right? All of these stories of Jesus of Nazareth who had to move away from people in order to connect to the divine, connect to the greater reality, connect to the mystery, connect through prayer, connect through listening, connect through stillness and silence and solitude, connect to himself, and connect to the part of himself that knew how to listen to and connect to the divine. That way of love is available to all of us. And I'm also loving the idea of, instead of worshiping Jesus during this Christmas season? What if you and I, Christian or not, decided to honor this winter season through deeply committing ourselves to the way of love? Deeply committing yourself to communion and connection to the divine. Deeply committing yourself to your community, to your beloveds, to your people. Deeply committing yourself to rest and respite and slowing and quieting and stilling. What an incredible, incredible opportunity for you in this moment to say yes to. The way of love really can be broken down to even a simpler idea, which is from the Hebrew Bible. And Jesus, when asked what were the most important commandments in Judaism, his answer was, love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. This is the way of love. This is the communion, connection, community, and respite. This is how you love God with all your heart and your neighbor as yourself. And when we break that down, for those of us who may not practice a Christian faith or use the word God, loving the greater reality that you are a part of, that you are inherently belonging to. Can you love the mystery, the unknown? Can you love beyond what you can see, beyond what you can know with your logical mind? Loving God with all your heart. That's what that means. Loving the fact that there is a mystery unfolding that is loving you. And allowing yourself through connection to your own divine nature, through communion and resting and abiding in the home of your soul. Can you allow that to move you into an experience of greater love? And because you do that, because you prioritize your own soul and your own rest and your own connection to that greater reality, you can love your people well. You know, one of my favorite things about the stories that we know of Jesus of Nazareth is he took time outs all the time. He would be like, let me go do these insane, huge service opportunities. Let me go serve the people hard. I'm going to go serve them 2-3 days, and then I'm going to peace out. I'm going to go get some rest. I'm going to go reconnect in solitude with the divine. I'll be back when I'm ready. I love that so much. What happens when you and I begin to use these gifts and these invitations of the winter season to change our way of life? Where it's like, you know what? Let me go serve because I am here to serve. I am here to contribute. And then let me peace out and get some rest. Which for me is an incredible teaching on getting really clear. Here's my yes, and here are all my no's. Here's the invitation I say yes to. Here's the way that I will be of service. Here's where I am really called to contribute. And all these other things are going to have to be a no. Because for me to do that well, for me to love my people well, for me to serve my community well, for me to do my work well, I've got to say no to a whole bunch of things so that I can do what must be done in my own being, so that I can rest, so that I can replenish, so that I can reconnect when I get lost, which requires time and attention and intention. This is the way of love. This is really what I believe winter is inviting you and I into. But you and I must say yes. And you and I must be willing to consider and showing up to a change in how we do life. So maybe start with Christmas. Start with holidays. Be willing to change how you do it. Be willing to unplug from menu planning and bickering and over controlling how it's supposed to go. Be willing to unplug from toxic capitalism. Maybe we don't do buying presents this year. Changing the way of life so that the way of love can become central. Loving God with all your heart, loving your people. That's it. And if that is central, if that is your big, huge, sacred, holy yes, what needs to be no? What needs to fall off the list of things to do? So that your loving can be a whole yes. So that you can bring your whole attention and resources and self to. I think the minimalist movement and the simplifying movements, the rest movements that are going strong right now in our culture are for this. Because there is a desperate call for you and I to reprioritize what matters. And it can't get any simpler than love. And letting love lead. Ernest Holmes, founder of Science of Mind and Spirit, love points the way. Love points the way. And you and I get to consciously choose to be about that. So what has to come off your plate? What do you have to say no to so that you can say yes to loving God with all your heart? Who do you have to say no to so that you can say yes to loving your people? It may feel really radical because it is. It is a absolute, as Tricia Hersey says, the title of her book, Rest is Resistance. It is radical to choose love as your way of life. Because if you are choosing love, you are loving God with all your heart and loving your people, loving your neighbor as yourself. There is a whole bunch of stuff you will have to divest from, ways of being, ways of believing, in order to love well. I do believe it is the call of our time. And I am wildly grateful for the example of Jesus, who was a way shower and showed us how to do it, showed us how to live the way of love. It was the call of his time, and it is the call of our time now. So where's your yes? Where's your no? And may you let love lead and point the way. I love you. And so it is.